Proteins are large biological molecules that exist in every living organism. The body is made up of trillions of cells of all different kinds: muscle, brain, blood, and more. Proteins are helping your body function, and this includes breaking down food, powering your muscles, sending signals to your brain that control the body, and to transport nutrients through your blood. Proteins are molecules that contribute to virtually every activity in your body. They form hair, fingernails, and carry oxygen in the blood. Protein structure relates how to the amino acids are joined through a polypeptide bond. These eventually form a polypeptide chain that will become the foundation of all protein. All polypeptide chains have the same layout, except for the group called the side chain. This is the part of the protein that determines its function. The most important part of a protein structure is the way it's folded. But what is folding? Folding can be broken up into 4 stages: primary, secondary, tertiary, or quaternary. Primary structure. This relates to the initial stage of the protein, the amino acid strand, that forms a basis for the rest of the structures. Primary structure describes the unique order in which the amino acids are grouped together. These are constructed from a set of 20 amino acids. They are generally carbon, hydrogen, carboxyl amino, and the Vero group or R group. Secondary structure. This is where folding happens. The alpha helix, where the hydrogen bonds run up and down giving stability to the structure, and the beta sheet, where the amino acids join together using the hydrogen bonds and folding in on itself. Tertiary structure. Tertiary structure is essentially more complex folding of a protein. Example has more than one type of fold. This is where hydrophobic and hydrophilic conditions come into the mix. Disulfide bridge can be formed in a tertiary structure, and reaction is only referring to the cysteines, a type of amino acid that has a special file. A sulfur atom, when oxidizes from a covalent bond on the outside, doesn't occur internally due to antioxidants, which reduces the effects of the environment. Quaternary structure. These are the interactions between proteins. They have a number of subunits depending on how many subunits there are. There are different classifications. 2 is a dimer, 3 is a trimer, 4 is a trimer. And anything above 4 is called a multimer. These protein subunits cannot function on their own. An example of a quaternary structure is hemoglobin. It carries oxygen in our blood. In hemoglobin, one protein binds to the oxygen while the other binds to carbon dioxide. This is an example of how a protein can serve 2 functions. Completed protein. A term for a completed protein is called a conformation of a protein. This means that proteins have undergone all the steps cohesively and does not denature due to a rise in pH or temperature. If this happens, it will break down or misfold. Misfolding can lead to a number of disease states. What are disease states, you might be wondering? Disease states occur when misfolding happens. The accumulation of misfolded proteins can cause disease. Some of these diseases, known as amyloid disease, are very common. The most prevalent one is Alzheimer's, which affects about 10% of the adult population over 65 years old. Mutation occurs, and these are associated with dominant forms of the disease. This means an individual with a copy of a single defective gene will develop the disease. 2 copies of a defective gene are required for recessive forms for the disease to develop. In this case of Alzheimer's disease, and for other less common neurodegenerative diseases, genetics can be even more complicated, since different mutations of the same gene and combinations of these mutations may differently affect the disease risk. Different proteins and their functions. Enzymes are a good example of a specialized protein. Enzymes are the catalyst of the body. They break down proteins into your food, breaking down larger molecules into smaller molecules. They break down proteins into amino acids that the body is able to consume. This process is called chemical digestion. Another example of a protein and its function is hemoglobin. This is contained in red blood cells and carries oxygen to the lungs, to the tissues of the body. Hemoglobin consists of subunits, each with a cofactor of the heme group as an atom center. The iron main component that actually binds is to oxygen. Hemoglobin has a lower affinity for oxygen when the concentration of oxygen gets lower. This has great implications for the human body and has helped us adapt very effectively. The lower the affinity and lower concentrations means that we are exercising and utilizing our lungs in a more demanding way. When the body is low on oxygen, which means the hemoglobin is less affinity for the oxygen and can more easily drop off oxygen into human tissues. To summarize, it is good to understand how protein structure works as we can utilize it for our own benefit. Moving forward into the future, we are able to use new technologies that allow us to gain a better understanding of what protein looks like and how it reacts to certain conditions.